said before that you obviously try to keep the same routine every week. You got back late from Rutgers, and obviously Thanksgiving tomorrow. How different is this week compared to the others this season, and how much do you have to adjust?
Yeah, it's very different. I don't really like it, to be honest with you. I like the Thanksgiving holiday and what it represents, and the turkey, but I don't really love the change of routine. So, we try to structure it as much as we possibly can, but it's just different. There's no doubt about it. It's different. It affects the coaches probably more so than the players. Coach Ronnie brought up earlier in the week, which I thought was a good point, is we were making all these adjustments based on the players getting back at 4 o'clock in the morning, but we play a home game on Saturday night. They're probably not going to bed before 4 o'clock anyway, so it's no different for them. The coaches, it is. But then we bump everything back on Sunday to give everybody a little bit more time to rest, but then the whole rest of the week, everything was moved up. Last night I had my coach's show, so practice had to be up an hour earlier than it normally is. That cuts out of game preparation time. And then, again, Tuesday's usually a big game plan day for us, and I'm at the coach's show. And then Thursday, we usually have all day to clean some things up, and we'll go Thursday morning. I think we're starting tomorrow morning at like 6:30, so you lose that day. So it is different, thankfully, Michigan State and most schools around the country are dealing with the same thing. The one thing that's a little bit different for us is, again, not getting back here. I think I got pulled in my driveway. I think it was 5:15 in the morning on Sunday. So night games on the road are not ideal right before Thanksgiving.
James, 18 guys have had their first start this year, which is a stunning number. Is that a form and function, probably best example of injuries and youth combined?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of those things. We've had a lot of injuries, as you guys all know, and has been documented, and we were young, so kind of a perfect storm from that standpoint. But again, I think the coaches have been, done a great job of handling those things. I think the players have been resilient. I think we've had really good leadership from guys even when they were out and injured. So I think it's a combination of those two things. I don't know if you'll see something like that again, where you have both of those scenarios. We're such a young team, one of the younger teams in the country, and I would say that we're probably when it comes to adversity, when it comes to injuries, we're probably in the upper half of the teams in the country in terms of the number of injuries we've had this year.
There's got to be a silver lining to that, though, right, for looking ahead?
Yeah, I think the positive for it, obviously, just like at linebacker, is it was brutal when we were going through it at the time, but once we were able to get through it, it created depth by necessity. I think the same thing is going to happen with the offensive line over time. I think, obviously, looking forward, which I don't like to do a whole lot during the season, but it's going to help us in the long run there as well.
Explosive plays, obviously the sexier side of offense, but it seems like there's a lot of little things, receivers blocking down the field better this year, that have led to a lot of that success. How important has that been this year, kind of having the success that you've had with those things?
Yeah, I think, I think Saquon is an explosive play waiting to happen in general. But I also think his impact in the running game has obviously helped with the play action pass. I think the experience that we have at wide receiver and the explosiveness that we have at wide receiver obviously adds to that. And then I think obviously the mobility we have at quarterback. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's a combination of all those things. And then I think the other thing that factors into it that we have right now is confidence. Our guys are confident that someone is going to make a big play on every drive, or at least someone's going to make a big play in every game. So I think combination of all those things have really factored in.
And you've talked a lot about talking to the team about not making this weekend bigger than it is. Do you guys as a staff, because I think depending on how you gauge it, might be the highest stakes game that you guys have coached in. Do you at the same time battle not overthinking everything and staying in your own routine internally?
No, to be honest with you, I don't think the coaches, at least I don't feel that way, and we don't talk about it. I mean, when I say we don't talk about it, we've addressed it with the team, but we don't harp on it. When I say we don't talk about it, it's probably not fair. We don't harp on it over and over every single day. And it's the same thing as a staff. I go around the room, and I said, how long have you been doing it? 35 years. How long have you been doing it? 30 years. How long have you been doing it? 23 years, and so on and so forth. So people understand, how many 10-win seasons have the coaches had, on the staff, and So I think there's an awareness, and we discuss it, but we're not harping on it. Once we've kind of discussed, everybody's aware, and then we get back to our routine. It's the same thing with the players. We talked about some of the stuff going on in this game. We talked about 2 days ago about the game that's going to happen at 12 o'clock right before our game, and not allowing the however that game turns out affecting us emotionally one way or the other, positively or negatively. So we address these things. We just don't harp on it is probably the better way to say it.
Have you guys decided if you'll have that game on in the stadium? You had mentioned that you were
I know we
gonna-
talked before the season that the administration wanted to do more of that to try to get the crowds in. Early in the week, I did not want it on, but then I kind of addressed it with the team. I usually have my weekly meeting with Phil Eston on Thursday, and we usually discuss those things. So early in the week, I was against it, but now that we've kind of addressed it, I'm probably a little bit more open to it, but I still think it's going to be a distraction during warm-up. So my gut would be no. I'd prefer not. I'd prefer to hand out mini TVs to everybody that comes in the stadium as a bonus to get them there, and then not put it on the jumbotron.
You mentioned that.
You think Sandy will go for that?
Yeah, there you go. Just hand them out to the media.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned having a mobile quarterback. How much is the new offense and having a mobile quarterback helped when you guys had issues on the O-line?
I think significantly. I think you can run this offense with a less mobile quarterback, but for you to be as explosive as you want to be, and to have an extra dimension and give the defense something else to worry about, I think it's much more effective. That's our model. Has always been. Even in the old system, to be honest with you, we always wanted mobility to quarterback. I've been in a situation where we've had them and haven't had them. That was kind of the interesting narrative that was talked about, the first 2 years about the fit. Well, if you really do the study and you look at the quarterbacks that I had at Maryland, you look at the quarterbacks that I had at Kansas State, you look at the quarterbacks I had at Vanderbilt, that narrative really doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. But I think whenever you can have mobility at the quarterback position, it helps. And I think you're exactly right. I think it's helped with our offensive line, our growing, maturing offensive line, and then with the injuries that we've had, where maybe in years past a tackle gets beat and he gives up a sack, that has an effect on that kid's confidence. Where now that same play may occur, and Trace able to step up the pocket and go run for 12 yards, and the kid did the same exact thing, but the play did not result the same way, and it doesn't carry the same type of effect. It doesn't crush that kid's confidence. So I don't think there's any doubt that it's been beneficial and it's helped.
Two more.
Bringing up confidence, how do you feel like the confidence in this team has evolved from last year, and how does that play into the success you're finding this year?
Yeah, I think I think the Minnesota game. I remember going into the press conference after the game, and I was talking about how I thought that was a significant win for us. And I remember back, and I don't know if I mentioned these guys before. I remember back at Vanderbilt, we found a way to win a game against UConn under different circumstances. That program hadn't won a whole lot, before we got there, and that win kind of catapulted the team in terms of confidence and belief in what we were doing and how we were doing it. And I think the Minnesota game, we all see they're a good football team, and we found a way to get that win, and then found the next week to get another win, and it's just kind of grown from there. So there's collective confidence, which I think we have right now, but I also think we have individual confidence at a lot of positions with a lot of players. There's still some young players that are still growing in their confidence and things like that, but I think you could go through our team and the coaches would say that I think this guy really believes that he belongs playing in the Big Ten right now, and is going to play well enough for us to be successful. And I think you can say that in a lot of positions, and I think you can say that on offense, defense, special teams, and our team. So I think there is a lot of confidence right now in a lot of different areas, where I think in years past it was probably more dips and valleys. There was guys with a lot of confidence, and there was guys that were still trying to gain confidence, where now we're kind of more consistent, where it wavers a little bit.
James, on your first day being hired at Penn State, you took a press conference days, and you said that you were going to bring Penn State back to where it belongs. Now I know the job's not over yet, obviously, but Penn State's number 7 for the first time since they headed to the Rose Bowl. I'm just kind of curious, how do you get from point A to point B as there one central theme or one overriding characteristic that's allowed Penn State to kind of rise so quickly?
We're not there. We still have a long ways to go. I think we've done some nice things, and I'm pleased with the progress, but we still have a long ways to go. I could give you guys a list of 25 things that I think we still need to do to get where we want to be. But we're heading that direction. I think the biggest thing is, coming here, it's not like I was a first-time coach. It's not like our staff was the first time being together. So we had a plan, and we believed in the plan. It was detailed, it was thorough, and it was organized. And it wasn't like we were just trying to take a plan from school X and bring it to school Z. We had modified it to Penn State. We believed in it. And although there was rough patches and it was tough times and things like that, we stuck to the plan. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is we stuck to the plan. We kept getting better every single day. We didn't focus on the past. We didn't focus on the present. We didn't focus on the future. We focused on the present. And we just kind of kept grinding through it. To me, it's no different than anything else in life. You just keep working hard. You keep a good attitude. You have a thorough plan that makes sense for the organization or corporation or school that you're at, and you stick with it. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that we did is that I think a lot of times when you're in those situations, a lot of people start second guessing themselves or start to modify the plan and change the plan. We didn't really do that. I know people say, well, the offense has changed. I don't think that's as significant as people think. It's the overall. Joe has done a great job for us. Trace and Saquon and our entire offense have done a great job for us. But really, in the big picture, we're still playing philosophically how we want to play. We're just doing it with a new. We're using a different way of getting to the same spot. If that makes sense. Thanks.
Thanks.
See you guys.